Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. This is the fourth video in the series on how I would create a Model Fusion 360. In this one here, we're going to get into some of the exciting stuff. We're going to get into how I create the sprue for the plastic to run in and the injection pins in here. Now, I'm still going to use layout sketches for this. Just because I feel like that using these layout sketches it makes it easier to go back in and change things later on when you are attacking things, 3 or 4 months down the road. Don't forget, you have the whole data set down in the description area beneath, so definitely go and grab that, and also check out the table of content. So I am up in the main process here, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn the origin on. And I am going to start a sketch on, I'm going to start out with doing the side here. So I kind of get this view here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just hide everything like this. And then it's kind of like sketch up the sprue here. So to do that, this is just pretty standard sketching. I think I'm going to start out with creating a line from our origin, what is also our parting line. So that is good, and this is going to be 79 inches long, and the length here is going to be 38 over 2. 18 down like this, and over here is going to be there to there. So that's kind of like the layout of the sprue, and then I'm gonna kind of like sketch out the things from in here. So there's gonna be a line up like this, and I am gonna make the opening 3 millimeters. And here maybe some of you guys who are a little bit more experienced can maybe you might have a comment to that, and you are welcome to that. It's going to make this one a ½ degree up there, so it's going to be a little bit wider up on top. And then they're also going to be in the bottom half down here. We're going to make a little notch that's going to hold, so the plastic's going to come in up through the sprue here, and then we are going to have a little piece of plastic that's going to come down here. There's going to be a little notch on it that's going to hold on to it, so we make sure that the plastic part sits in our ejection side. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to create a line from our 3 down here, and I'm going to make this one straight. Next, I'm going to make sure to do that with a relationship, because that's what I want. And I'm going to make this one 25 down like that. Going with a line 3. Up there. That's the little notch there. That's going to be full, and I am going to make it 5 degrees. Make these two like that. So that is our little notch area there. So I actually only drew up half the side over here for it, and I ended up drawing the whole side there. What should be fine for, because it's a sketch. I'm not gonna spend more time trying to lay it all out. But that's our sketch for our sprue here, what means that we can go back in and we can turn on the upper face here. And what we're gonna do with the upper one is we're literally just gonna right now make the hole that is 18. And we could, oh, let me just go and rename this. So I'm gonna call this sprue, what was that? That was sprue side. You know, in theory, we could actually just use a revolve. Wouldn't necessarily be bad. I hadn't thought this completely through. Make sure we make it active. Create a sketch. Project this to this. Create a line from here to here. So there. Go revolve. Still can't select that, so I'm just gonna hide it for a second. Hide the body actually. I should be able to select it. Select that, turn the body back on, hit OK, measure. It's 18. Okay, perfect. That's for our sprue. Now with that in there, we should be able to go to the upper clamping plate, right? And then we should be able to create the remaining cuts. So sprue side, turn that on, so that's there. And let's turn that's origin on, because I like to draw on the origins of these. Like that. P for project. Like that. Turn that's body off. Do another revolve cut. No, and I don't know right now if there's easier ways to do it. But sometimes you get kind of like stuck with different ways. Hide that sketch. And now we got that there. So if we turn the upper clamping plate, turning on the upper insert. Oh, and we still have the upper mold plate that needs a cut through too, right? So let's do that. Turn that one on. Again, by having the sketches in here, I'm assuring that if I ever change the sprue layout, I don't think you're getting that now. While we are doing this, upper clamping plate. Alrighty. Now there's also going to be a sprue top. So let's go ahead and create that one. So the sprue top is going to have this diameter here, so I can actually project that one right to here. And then the way I'm going to do the intro is I'm going to have the plastic's going to come into this corner. That's where it is also on the part itself. So I'm going to do a project of this edge and kind of like use this edge here, because actually what I want is I'm going to create a line, and this is all kind of like sketch geometry that really doesn't matter. It's not critical. This is maybe depending on your part. So in this case here, I'm going to create a 45-degree construction line. I'm going to make that construction. Then I'm going to place a circle on here that I'm going to make 3 millimeters in diameter. That's kind of like where my flow is going to come in here. And I can kind of like determine, I'm going to do it by eye here and kind of like come up with a length from the center here. Two inches. That's what we're going to call it. Just going to grab that line and show them that there. So this is where the end of my channel is going to be. Then I'm going to create another line, and I'm going to just choose to have mine coming down again in like 45 till it hits the intersection point and to the center here. Both of these are now black. I'm going to put a little sketch filler down in here. And I'm going to make this one 6.5. So this is fully constrained. This is kind of like the path of the channel that's going to go in here for our plastic to run down. Now I'm still, remember, I'm still in a layout sketch. So let me just stop the sketch for a second, and I'm going to call this sprue top, and then I'm actually also going to create, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one, and then I'm going to just rotate it over here. So I'm also going to create another layout sketch that's going to be the front here. So that's going to be this side. And to be honest, the front here is going to be the world's simplest sketch. That's just going to be the circle of the channel diameter, what I'm going to make 3 millimeters, just like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my upper insert here. And I am going to use the sweep command for this. So let me make my upper insert active. And then I'm going to go in and say I want to create a sweep. And the front, cancel out that. I got to name these. If you don't name them now, you're going to absolutely sprue front layout. Gotta do it right. Alright, upper insert is active, and go and do a sweep, and this is going to be the profile, this is going to be the path, and I'm going to hit OK to that, and now we can see that we kind of get that channel. Now we got to finish it down here, so I'm still in my upper insert, So I'm actually going to start a little sketch down here, create a sketch here, and it goes normal too. I'm just going to move it a little bit here. And then I'm going to project this edge, and then I'm actually going to create a line from the center point up to here. Okay, and I'm going to close it off there. Now I'm going to go back in, and this time I'm going to use the revolve as we did before. I'm going to select this as the profile. I'm going to select this as the center and hit OK, and now we got that channel right there. And if I turn on my sprue top, you will see that that was, maybe I have to see, but that sketch, I created a circle that became that there. So that's how I'm going to create that. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can actually create the channel in to do this. And I am going to take what I think is probably the cheap way to do that. You could open it up different ways in here. One would be to use a loft and just loft between two different circles. So I'm going to go in here and create. We could actually probably use plane through a path. I'm going to try. So if I can travel there, we can never travel further than the path, so that's going to be 0 there. And then I'm going to create a offset plane from that. Now I'm winging this a little bit. I'm winging most of this. So I'm going to go -3. Nope. I'm going to go -4. Like that here. So now I got these two planes. And now I'm just going to sketch on one of them. It's going to be a little bit hard to see. I'm sketching on the front one here. So I'm going to make something that is 0.5 on that. And then I'm going to go on, stop that sketch. And then if I go back to our original sketch over here, create a sketch on that. And I'm going to make that one a little bit bigger. Let's make it 1.5. And now if I create a loft cut between this diameter and this diameter, we get the cut, hit OK, and that, turn off the top layout here, and that would be the channel that the plastic's going to enter the part. This could also, many times, I actually think on this part here, it's probably not coming right here. It's actually coming down in an angle from up here, and you burn with a single EDM down a channel. So the plastic, when the part gets ejected, the part actually gets cut off from this here. But I'm not going to do that right now. Now I'm just going to rotate this around. So I'm going to go into Modify, into Create, Pattern, Circular Pattern, and I'm going to select Features, because now I can select my lead in here. I can select the cut, the circular cut, and the channel, and I am just going to do it around that center axis right there. It's because everything is symmetrical. Oops. Didn't take it. Okay, suppress, unsuppress. There we go. And now we have the channel right there. Now we still don't have the sprue, because the sprue is actually going to be an inserted component that we're going to be working on next, I think. All right, so I think we're about ready to add some of this hardware. And what I'm going to use here is I'm going to use Hasco hardware. Now, the only reason for me to use this is because that was what I used back in the day when I used to create molds for a living. Now, you can go out to Hasco's website and you can actually download all the different files. But of course, there's also other great brands out there that you can use. And they also have the CAD files available. I have downloaded a bunch of these parts that I need for this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder in here, and I'm going to call this one hardware, because I like to keep things separated. I'm going to go into that folder, and then I'm going to click upload, and I'm going to go to select my files. And in my download folder here, I have all the different components that we're going to be using for this project. So I'm going to hit upload. So now we're actually ready for inserting our sprue here, what is up here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the upper mold plate. We can turn that one on. I want to make sure that I'm up here on top. And I am going to turn on the upper clamping plate, right? So this is kind of like that whole assembly. And now I can insert my hardware here. So insert into current design. Comes in there. Now, before I talk about it, we have a free move. Now I'm going to use it here. And if you're not familiar with assemblies, I definitely recommend that you watch the video that I created about this. There's a couple of things here. I know that we have a big radius here, so we should probably add a chamfer in here to our upper clamping plate for that. I am not quite sure how big of a chamfer we would add in here. I don't know what we can get away with. This is where, of course, we will check for interferences and so forth. But now I'm going to go ahead and place this one in here. So now I'm going to go up and do the joint here, and I'm just going to select, holding down Control. You'll see I'll do this a lot. I just hit the face and hit Control on my keyboard, and that will make me snap to that center. And then I'm going to place it down to this center. And then the sprue is placed in here, and I can hit OK, and now that sprue is sitting there. Now you will see here that the sprue is actually too long, and that's a pretty a pretty common thing. Now, right now it's linked in here because it's referencing out to out here. But since I gotta manipulate this sprue, right? We gotta make the hole through it and the different things. I'm actually gonna break the link. So I'm gonna right-click here and just say break link. What that means now, this is part of this assembly, and these are not linked together anymore. And that actually means that now I can start working with it just as if it was a normal part in here. So what I'm going to do with this sprue is, first of all, to make it to length, I can actually just hit, this is one of the cool things about direct editing. I am just going to go in here, now as a standard component, like this here. I can hit Q, and now I can actually, I can cut this one to this surface right here on top of it. So that's how we can shave off the 15 millimeters just using the standard press pull command. So now it's long enough in here. And since we had our sketches from before for this whole thing, we got the side sprue, right? So now we can literally go in and use the same tools as I used before. So I can go into the sprue here. I can make it active. I can turn on the origin so I can see my planes here. Sketch on the right one, create a sketch on that. And it might be easier if we start hiding things. Get our sketch up here. And what I'm going to do to the sprue is I'm actually just going to hit P for project, and I'm going to steal that line. I'm going to steal the center line here. And see, I get a warning down here. It's just saying that my item is actually hidden. So that was what that warning shows. The object that you're creating is not visible because it's hidden. So it's not an error that's going to prevent me from doing anything. It's just a nice reminder that I had hidden that thing there. So now we got our sprue here. I can go up and hide the original sketch and do a revolve cut. From that, and we're going to select that edge right there, and there is the cut for the sprue. And then of course we're also going to have the front layout that I created. What of course the front layout on this thing was just a circle, if you remember. Sitting right, it's kind of hard to see right there. So again, I can go down on our sprue here. I'm going to zoom out so I can see the plane. Oh, try it on there. So I think it's going to be this plane right here. Create a sketch. And that's just going to be literally a press pull. And that's going to be a cut. But what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to say, I'm going to go 2 sides, and then I'm going to change the distance to all. So now it's going to go through that one, and then on the other one I'm going to say through all. So now again, if we're changing anything, it will always go through there. And if we now roll back up to our mold plate here, turn that on, I have my layout sketches, and if we now turn on our upper insert, we will see that now that sprue is coming in there. And if we turn on the upper clamping plate and the upper mold plate, that is in place there. The only thing I maybe want to do here, the last thing I want to do to this one here is I am going to start a sketch on my upper clamping plate like this here, and actually when I do that I still have the other things visible. I'm going to open up a sketch on this face, create a sketch, go normal 2 here, oops, not on that face. I'm going to do it on the back face here, create a sketch, okay, and I am going to create a slot here that's going to be a center point slot. Down -4 like that there. So it's a 4mm, that should be flush. Hit OK, and if I turn, because I had the sprue visible, you should now see that we have a dowel we can put in there to hold the sprue in place, so when the sprue will not spin around. Another thing we're going to have here is we're going to have a ring that's going to sit here. Insert that one into the current design. I'm going to move it out of the way because it's a part here, and let's go in and do a joint. So J for joint, hover over, hit Control, select the center or Command, and then I can select the center there and flip it. And this one will normally have a couple of would have a couple of screws in it. I'm gonna skip that. The next thing we probably want to put in here, just to kind of like wrap this up, is the actually guide pins. We need to get those in this half. So let me just hide the upper clamping plate, because they actually go in here. Right click, insert into current design. And I'm just going to move them up here. Hide the data panel. Hit OK. And again, the way I'm going to insert these is hit J for joint. Hover over here, hold down Control. I can select that face. And then all I have to do is select this edge and flip them around like that. And there is that one. And then we're going to do that 3 more times. The way I normally do this is I highlight the component here, hit Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, and then it gives me the second one, and I'll move that one over. And then I'm just going to go ahead here and do what I just did before. So hover over the face, hit Control, select the center. Hit J for joint, select the face, Control to there. Okay. That there, and then we can turn the upper clamping plate on. I haven't done any of the bolts yet. I'm actually going to pull all the bolts are going to come out of the Insert McMaster car. But I'm going to wait with those for right now. So that finishes the upper portion here. Now we got to work with the lower portion. Turn on the lower insert. We can turn on the lower mold plate. We can turn on the lower spacing, right, left, and lower, and right there. Now, how about that we now do our injector plates? So if you remember correctly, they are still sitting on the sketch, and they are actually going to be on the, I believe, the front mold plate right here. So I'm going to create a couple of components for those. So there is the first one. I'm going to call that one the ejector, and that is the retainer. That's the one that's going to hold the ejector plates, or the injector, and then ejector base plate. Okay, just like we've done before, we're going to go and make one active. And in this case here, we can actually just hit Q, and we're just going to select the first one there, and that one sits right there. And now we're back to what we did earlier. Okay, so now we have our injector plates in here. I just noticed that I never did any chamfers or anything on the risers and on all this. So I'm just going to fix that quick. So we're going to use some 6mm. Now again, I'm sketching on the top sketch right now, so it will try to snap to things, but I should be alright. So I'm just going to make it. Alright, I wasn't sure, so then we got the 4 holes there, so we can see that those are perfect. Alright, so now I can go in and create the remaining one. So now in our sketch here, we have our holes right here. I'm going to hide the injector holes, go into the lower insert. We can activate it, and if we want to create our injector holes here on the back side, maybe the easiest, create sketch, and now we should be able to project them over. There, 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 and there's going to be one here, one there, to Q, through all, compute that, and now we have our injector holes through here. And now we're really just going to go ahead and add that clearances into the mold plate, add the clearances into the retainer. There's the clearances through the lower mold plate. So again, if I turn on the lower insert here, we should now see the clearance for the 6 injector pins going through there. Alright, next one is our retainer plate. Alright, so the next thing here is to insert the heads into to the injector plate, and I probably just going to do that right in with this one active here. So we can go in here, open up a sketch like that, and this is going to be 13. And now see the holes going through there, and we can now go ahead and add our injector pins. So go out to back to our data panel, go into our hardware, and I got the injector pins, the 6mm injector pins right here. So again, just insert into current design. Like that. I'm gonna use my 3 move just to get it out of the way, and then I'm really just gonna do like I did with everything else in here. So J for joint, hold down Control, select the center there, and I can place the first one over here like that, and that should stick through. It's long enough that it sticks through the plate here. So let me just place the remaining 6 of these, and then I'll show you a cool thing. So I'm going to do the same thing before. Click down here, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. That's going to create the copy. Drag it out here. Okay. That there. All right, so here's a good thing. So now we have our injection pins, and you know, the next step here is to get them to the right length. So here's a neat little trick. I'm going to go up and turn on our two parts again. So now we are actually, for the first time, going back to our two parts up here. So the thing here is to go into the combine and use that, and it can actually also subtract. But here's the thing: if you go in here right now, I can't select the ejecting pins, and that's because they are all linked, right? They are linked out to that other folder. So we're gonna have to break the length if we want to cut them to size. Right click, break link. As soon as you do that, you will actually see that it just stands with itself without the link on. So any component that we want to edit in here, we'll have to break the link to it. Now, when we go in to use the combine feature, oops, over here, combine feature, and I'll change this to a cut. Now we can select that ejector pin, and the tool body we're going to use is actually the part itself, right? And then we're just going to hit OK to cut it. Now, it immediately doesn't look like there's anything wrong, but if I go over and I hide the body, you will see that this injector pin just got cut into two different. So here's one, here's another one. And if I go over and click on it over here in the lower tree, you will see that it actually has two bodies. So there's one body that's an injector pin we want to keep, and then there's one I don't want anymore, that little tip there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that body and just say remove. And that body is now killed out of there. So I'm going to do that to the remaining pins here. So go over, repeat, go over and say, not repeat, that, cancel. Go and say combine, and the one we want is the, well, let's finish one part first. This part here with this part there, hit OK. That was one. Repeat command. Do this one to the body. Does that. Right click. Combine with this body. Okay. Right click, repeat combine. This one with this body. Okay. And right click, repeat command. And the last one here with this here. So now if we go in and we hide the two parts, we see that these now also have that extra body in it. So now we can just go through here, go into the body folder, find out which one it is where we want to remove. The first one, remove. I bet you that any toolmaker out there would love if it was this easy to exercise injector pins in real life. There we go. So now we just did that with these injector pins, and they are now to the right length. Now another thing we got to do to this one. Couple more things. We got to add one in the center too. So remember how we finished the upper mold plate. If you remember that with the injection coming in, but for the lower mold plate, we have not done anything with injection there. We got to finish that and put a dowel or put a injection pin for that center. And then there are also going to be 4 return pins we're going to put out here to be able to, that when after the injection pins have been pushed apart out, that when we're closing the mold again, that everything gets brought back to this 0 location on our pins here. But let's go in and finish up the sprue for the center so we can add that injection pin in the center here. So for that, I'm just gonna for a second hide the lower mold plate. I'm gonna leave the insert plate right here, and I actually think I'm also gonna go and turn these items off down here. V for hide. So now we're back to this part here, and we now have our injection holes. That is taken care of. So let's take care of the center here. So I'm gonna go back up to my sketches again, and this time I actually think I'm just gonna open up the sprue layout, and we can now see that we kind of like have a couple of things we're gonna deal with here. Now I left this center to be a 3mm same size as our sprue. I think in real life that might actually be a little bigger. I am not 100% sure about that. And actually now I can't remember if I ever put that. That could be in the top view of the sprue too. So let's go and find the top layout of the sprue. Okay, there's nothing in that, but actually what I'm going to do in that sketch, I'm going to go and open that sketch right now, and I'm going to put that 3mm in there. I think I like that. So that is now in our top sprue sketch. Q. Through all. There we go. So now we have that 3mm that goes all the way through here. And then if I turn on the side sprue sketch, we have this little notch out here that is going to actually hold on to the plastic part. So making sure that when the mold opens up, that our plastic parts are not following the upper part, but sticks down in the lower section here. So I am going to turn on the origin, because I believe that right now I can actually go in, we'll test this out, and do a revolve. And if I hide the lower insert for a second, I can select this here, and then for my axis I can actually select, I want to select the actually x-axis here. So that was in the origin of the lower one, and let's hit OK. Turn that origin off, and let's go in and do a quick section analysis. Go through the part here, and here you will see that we now have the plastic's going to come down here. We're going to place an injector pin, a 3mm injector pin down here, but all the plastic is going to come in here, and this taper section here is going to assure that the parts are staying over here. And then when the injector plate pushes the parts out, then there's an injector 3mm here that will push this whole thing out here. So this taper here is critical to kind of like hold everything in place. Okay, so with that done, let's go back and turn on the injector retainer plate. And let's make that one center here, and then we can blow a hole through that one too. And again, we can use in this case here, it's really the same as using the sprue sketch, right, that we just created the top one from. Again, I'm assuring that if I use that one to actually create my cut, then now I only have to change that through there. So these sketches are critical to keeping everything in place. Now I have the injector plate. So with this in here, let's just turn the injector plates back on. And we now have all our injectors we need in here. Now the next thing we need is we need a way to actually tie this plate, the ejector chainer plate, with our base plate that sits right here. So I'm going to put a couple of 8mm screws in here to do that. Again, using the top sketch for that, I find the most easiest. All right, that was the end of the fourth video. I hope that you're now starting to get a pretty good feeling about how I will go about this. In the last video, we are going to attack adding all the rest of the hardware and also kind of like get it all laid out as an assembly. Hope to see you there.